the KTM 790 Adventure. I've owned this bike now for about a week. I've had about 3 rides out. So here are my initial thoughts. And apologies for the audio. Well, apologies. This is an overlay, so I'll have no engine noise or anything like that. Unfortunately, I'm still sorting out audio vlog style with my setup. The KTM 790 Adventure. The main kind of buying choice for me was value for money. Ultimately, it's very competitive with its class. You know, they've managed to put together something based on their 890 and previously 790 platform for a price that is in line with a lot of other newcomers to the same market. Ultimately, I think it's adding more. So, you know, you've got cruise control once you've had the tech pack, which I'll talk about another time, and other ones don't offer that as part of their platform, so there is extra there. I think that it's competitive within its class overall, and I've owned a KTM 390 Adventure, which is you know, similar platform, not the same of course, you know, twice the capacity basically, but I thought that it was time for a change. I recorded a short video on that, but I might expand on that point later. Overall, it was the bike that I kind of wanted that sort of 50-50, you know, fair bit of off-road ability, and have the options available for it to be a bit of an all-rounder bike that I can use in any scenario and any condition. But in the UK, you know, not to any extremes ultimately. I'm sure maybe I'll give it a try later on, but overall it was for general travel use, adventure use in that sort of UK sense, and I think it's a really good choice for that. In terms of the quality, you know, only obviously based on impressions rather than any sort of long-term thing. I think that on the main kind of build and the frame and the parts and the general kind of kicking the tires of things, it seems to be done to a high level. It's kind of an educated guess for me, you know, thinking that they maybe had something to prove with this platform, and as a result that they would actually put quite a lot of effort into making sure that all of the main componentry is of high quality and high workmanship, and so far I think on kind of giving the bike a general inspection, I think that is true. There are questions, I think, for me around secondary components, you know, bolts, maybe a little bit of fit and finish. You can see that, you know, they've cutting corners maybe is a little bit too strong a term, but ultimately maybe they've compromised a little bit on there in comparison to maybe other prices of other bikes of a greater price. An example of that, you know, I adjusted or added some new mirrors, and in that process, you know, there was a little bit of initial kind of marking and scratching on the sealing of the bolts to attach the mirror, a little bit of threading issues, but that was partly my fault based on what I was trying to thread through. But overall, you know, those type of things, it feels like maybe there's a slight compromise. So later on, you know, in a year's time, you know, I might be looking for signs of wear or even rust. But, you know, I really don't expect that's going to hit anything primary. You know, it's not like an engine's going to blow up or a chain's going to fall off or anything like that. All of the core quality seems to be there. But on those secondary things, maybe there'll be a little bit of work to do later to maybe replace specific parts if that becomes an issue. But I think for a lot of bikes you might have that kind of consideration in a way. So is that anything particularly special? I don't know. In terms of suspension, was another kind of standout thing for me. You know, riding first impressions, hitting you know, imperfections and potholes, and you know, in the Peak District here, roads are not perfect. The suspension is firm, kind of as you would expect, tuned more on road for sure than off-road. I think there's not like necessarily a plushness there, but you can tell there's a really balanced capability there that comes from the KTM line. I kind of like that it's non-adjustable in a way. I had adjustability on the KTM 390 and never really used it. So is that a special standout thing that I would require of my suspension? No. I kind of like a balanced, ready to go, out of the box, don't have to think about it, match to that capability rather than messing around with it too much. I don't think I will really find its limits anytime soon, off-road or on-road, ultimately on first impression. And I think that, yeah, for me, another thing was, not having the need to upgrade. It doesn't really, I don't really on this bike because it comes with, a lot of the electronics package and kind of an in-designed ruggedness. I'm not going to be adding crash bars. I'm not going to be changing anything major about the bike. I'm not going to be spending more money on it, which really adds back to that value proposition for me, whereby, on a bike that costs less, you're adding more. So for me, I think that it's, again, a good value package overall. Um, and I might do some basics. I've already replaced the mirrors, like I said earlier. I might do the hand guards, but really basic things that I've already had. Um, the other thing that really strikes you is the balance of the bike. I know that that's not unique to this bike. It's the brought in with the original 790 and on the 890, and carried through to this bike, the saddlebag. But it's no less cool. It is super well balanced. It feels like when you're riding it that you couldn't even push it over if you tried. It doesn't affect its ability to go up the corner and its general handling, but it is just very well balanced, and as a result makes it feel very light. It feels as light as the 390 Adventure, and that is giving up 40 kilo, but you definitely don't feel it. Um, I'm kind of waiting to see what it's like on road, specifically when you're pushing it and maneuvering and things like that. But overall, it does seem very well balanced, which is cool. I think that compared to other bikes that feel quite top heavy, like the Tenere, I test ride it, didn't have a huge amount of time with it, but it did feel a little bit top heavy. Obviously the unique thing going for that is kind of the squat traction trellis design thing that it has, which is its own unique kind of selling point. But overall, yeah, the balance is very good on the 790. Another one is the smooth engine. It does seem very smooth, actually, smoother than I thought. I thought it might be a bit rough around the edges, or that there would be kind of gaps in the power, or the power would come on quite late, which I noticed on the Norden even. I felt like it was kind of timid almost in the first and second gear, and then you were getting a lot of power up top. And this one just feels like you're getting very smooth power delivery across the rev range, which I personally like. It's like you're not changing gears often unless you need to. It doesn't seem to chug unless you're really kind of disproportionately out of gear for the situation. It's just a very smooth parallel engine, and kind of waiting to see how that after it beds in. Presumably that's only going to improve. I'm still in the running period, but the smoothness of the engine seems yeah, very good. So overall, the bike's been great so far. Only initial impressions, but I'm definitely very impressed. There's no major faults thus far, but I am going to kind of continue to assess it and see an outfit specific situations, compared to 390, which is my most recent frame of reference, and see how I kind of grow with it as a bike. Does it make me a better rider? To some extent, some bikes do. I think the KTM's, generally for me, are like that, where it's better than you are in terms of all the electronics and features and things like that. So I'm seeing how much I feel comfortable pushing it where appropriate. But yeah, thanks for listening. And my next video hopefully will have all of my sound issues and audio issues kind of dialed in. So we've got a more rounded version of this kind of experience of the 790. But thank you.